Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of Couple Talk. So, as you can see, I'm here with my lovely husband Joshua, and as you can also see, our background is different. This week we celebrated 11 years. 11 years. We passed the 10-year mark. That is a great achievement in couples today, because marriage is such a, what can we call it, a rare commodity that persons are willing to go the long haul. And I'm so thankful, and I know we're both thankful that we've made it thus far to celebrate the 11 years together. This has been an exciting journey, a roller coaster journey, but it has actually gotten better over the years, and I thank God that we have gotten better, not worse. And many persons have experienced where things have gotten worse, but for us, learning each other, understanding each other, and growing each other with Christ in the middle, we have actually gotten better. So I'm very thankful. Just for you, anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, getting to this point, the number is not as important as the where you are, because I think for some persons, you could be going through a torture. I mean, we could be 20 years, 30 years into this, and we know better off. I mean, for us, I think it got worse before it got better. But what I'm thankful for is that it got better, right? And today, a friend of mine was saying that, once you pass the 10-year mile, it gets better. And I was like, that's good to know, because there were periods of time I was wondering if it was ever going to get better. It just seemed like we were polar opposites. But some of the things we want to share tonight is going to be some of the things that we have used to help us to learn, to get better, to get to where we are. So maybe tell our audience about the exercise that we did, today, and that we're going to share this evening.
Okay, so what we did today, we sat down and we made a list of 11 things that marriage has taught us. We used the number 11. And each wrote down these 11 things. And what we did after was share the list with each other to see if we had anything in common, which we had some. And we came up with this idea that since we had some diverse information listed, that we're going to share 11 things in total to you about what marriage has taught us today. Now, if you want to see the individual list, it's posted in the chat, and you can even see afterwards and see what each one of us have learned in 11 years of marriage. But tonight, we just will focus on 11 things that marriage has taught each of us. So let's get started.
Now, before we get started, I just found it very obvious. When you look at the list in the comment section, you'll notice one is very to the point, and one is very lengthy. Without looking at the names, you probably could guess whose list is which. Men just straight to the point. Women have a look. But that's part of the blessings of things. But Sharlene, I think you're going to start.
Loving someone is an intentional process. Over the years of marriage, I have always felt that if I don't love you today, that means the marriage is falling apart. Because that's what they always taught us, love is a feeling that you feel. This weird saying that they keep teaching us, but no one told us that love is more than just a feeling. Love is something that you have to be purposeful. And I've learned over these 11 years that I have to be intentional and purposeful in terms of how I love Joshua. And that he's a child of God, that I have to treat him as God would want me to treat him, as God will treat me as well. And that has changed the dynamic in terms of how I treat him and how I love him. So that was one of the first things I wrote on my list. Loving someone is an intentional process.
All right, the second one I wrote down and is a hug has healing powers. Odd that I wrote that down, and Charlene probably found it surprising that I wrote that down. But over time, I've come to realize that no matter how bad things get, when I hug Charlene, without saying anything or even not saying much, it's amazing how it reassures her, it calms her down, it lets her know that hey, everything is going to be okay. So men, as much as sometimes we're not the touchy type, I mean, every man is different. But generally, this is not something we would go to hug someone. But it's amazing how a hug can make a difference. Even though things might be upset, they might be tense, just try it. Just don't say anything. Just hug your spouse. Just hold her close, and even if you can reassure her that everything is going to be okay. And sometimes it works on the opposite. Sometimes out of the blue, Charlotte just like she realized I'm frustrated. She realized I'm upset. Something maybe is happening at work or something at church, or just someone is just you're just frustrated. And sometimes she was, hey, you want to hug? I behave like I don't need a hug. I don't want to hug, but she was still coming. She would hug me, and I feel better. You just in that moment, you and this person, you're in this together. You're going to get through this. So a hug has a healing power.
Aw. Being vulnerable doesn't have to be scary as it builds trust in the relationship. When I wrote this one year, I thought about how I grew up, that I always had to be strong for everyone. I had to be strong for myself because there was no one to be strong for me. And I must say that is a very weary process because you're not able to, or you're not afforded the luxury to be vulnerable or with someone. Because if I do cry, someone is like, but I expected better of you because you're always so strong. And being married, you realize that you can't always be strong as society deems it because the person will understand how you feel and be able to relate to you. And I realized I had to allow my vulnerable side to show in the relationship. And there's benefit to that because a man likes to know he can protect his woman. And by showing that particular side, I realized I actually had someone else to be strong for me at times. And I didn't always have to carry the burden alone. And it made it easier for me to reveal information or even to share how I feel, within the relationship. And even allow him to do the same as well because we realized we could trust each other with our feelings and what we're going through. And trust me, it has been such a reassuring and calming experience that I have no problem doing it now. So for me, that was an important lesson that I learned over these years.
I just gotta say a quick good night to Lou. Hi Lou. Hi Marva. Hey, so thank you guys for joining our live. And so I'm gonna jump in. Schedule a date night and keep it. And this is especially important for people that get very busy, like me. If I didn't have a date night and making sure that I keep that, you'd always have to be making excuses. You don't take me out anywhere. You don't do anything with me. You're always busy. This is the perfect solution for that. Men, keep it. Schedule a date night. Some people like to get this idea, well, oh, it needs to be spontaneous for it to feel like it's good. No. That's a myth. Schedule it. It could be just as good. You could come up with different places to go. That's where you could get creative. But the fact that Saturday night, Thursday night, whatever night, kind of find a night that is not going to always be scrambling to make it work. But then once you do it, you keep it. You try to be creative. Sometimes you may decide who's going to choose where we go tonight, but really make it work. Don't just treat it casually. Dress up nicely if you have to, but just schedule a date night and keep it. It's really worked. It's really helped us. Even when things got busy, we knew that this was our date night. It doesn't matter what happened. Everyone understood that. Look, this is our night. Don't get involved in that particular night. So do that. Schedule a date night and definitely keep it.
Your family background has shaped you, but it must not define who you are in this relationship. Let God be the defining factor in the way forward. This one has I can smile. Well, what we all need to realize is that we come from different environments. different home environment, different social environment. And these different areas influence and shape who we are today. The mistake we make is going into a relationship, coming into this relationship saying, well, this is how my family used to do it, and this is how we used to do it, and this is how everything used to happen. So why can't you do this way? And they see that creates problem in relationship because you don't understand God said to live and clean. So now we have to take what it is we have learned, both of us, see what it is can good for both of us and move forward to a new plan. Because there are things we would learn from our background that is positive that we can actually help to guide this particular relationship. Because we might have some different values that might strengthen the relationship based on what we have learned. And trust me, there's some values we would have learned or some things we would have learned that can be very detrimental to a relationship. But what we have to be open-minded to realize is that when we come together, we have to shape and plan this new relationship going forward. Because you can't have your children have to be divided, choosing sides. Well, daddy family used to do this way, or mommy family used to do this way. Because then what are we teaching them? Because we have to teach them our value. Because now this is about the stewards. This isn't about the Phillies and whoever and all these different things. This is about who we are at this moment. And you see when it is you come to that agreement in terms of this is where you are and you move forward that planning, trust me, the ride becomes smoother because now you're one force to be reckoned with. Because no one can get in between that because you now understand this is a family unit and this is what we stand for.
All right. So the next one, I notice how mine is just short to the point. Charlie knows is way long, but that's don't sweat the little things. It's amazing the kind of fights you get into for things that you can't even remember what those things were. She likes to sit down, you like to sit up, you put your shoes here, you left something in the dishes, or don't sweat the little things. There's some things that after a while you just realize this is not worth the fight. It's not worth it. I'm driving and I just know she's gonna try to tell me how to drive, and I'm like, you know what?
I have to guide you.
Yeah, so
I mean, you don't know where you're going.
see, that's it. So
I mean, you don't know where you're going.
yeah, so don't get stressed out about it. It took some time, but after a while you gotta realize this is my partner. We're in this together. That's his or her, that's the way he or she does things. That's them. Just deal with it. Just let it slide. Sometimes do your best to work around that and move on. Life is too short for you to be stressed out about some little things. It's only when you get to a point where it's sad to say you don't want to get there, but when you get to a point you probably almost lose someone and you've come to realizing that you've stressed over some things and this person might be gone. You don't know how long you're going to have with each other. So don't sweat the little things. If it's not going to be something that's going to, change your life or it's going to put you in some financial debt, or just let it slide and just don't really make the big.
Marriage is a covenant with God, and I should respect it as such. It's not for my happiness, but for my salvation. And this one was one that took a while to get used to actually understand. Because God told us that He created this particular covenant marriage. But I don't think we truly understood. I don't think some of us truly still understand what it means that marriage is not about finding someone else to in love with and I'm going to rush and get married. It's bigger than that because God refers to His relationship with us like a marriage. And that tells you that even through the hard times and difficult times, He still holds fast to us in terms of the relationship, how He sent His Son to die for us. And when I truly begin to understand, how God sees us and His relationship with us, I realize marriage is not something to be taken lightly. That even if I'm upset about something, I'm frustrated about something, I have to go to God to help me to deal with it because it's not. Because I can't decide that I don't feel like it anymore. You've made this covenant and you have to stick with it. Of course, we're not talking about abuse and the same. We just talking about other factors that did not just make you figure, well, why did I get married? And over the years, I realized, the closer I got to God, the more I learned to appreciate what marriage is about. And I realized that, when I truly understood what marriage is about, I realized that my salvation was at risk. And it made me change the dynamics of how I feel and how I treated this relationship. And because of that, I think it made me happier understanding the importance of why God placed me in this situation. And it really changed and move our relationship forward. I'm so happy about that because, as I said, we don't sweat the small stuff anymore. I mean, we just have our don't drive that road and whatever the case may be. But outside of that, the way how we see things today is so much different to how we saw things, some years ago. That if you have a fight today, you should let it half an hour after we realize we're talking to each other because we're not going to let that destroy a relationship, and we're more about repairing and moving forward than anything else. So, yeah, this one really touched me over the years.
All right, so pray together and for each other. And you would realize a lot of the things that's really impacted us is the spiritual part about our marriage. And I think it's very difficult to overcome real challenges if you don't have an external source that's helping to guide you, that's helping to bring you together. Now, for us as Christians, that's just part of our core. But for everyone else, it might not be as we look at it, our spiritual connection. It might be a friend. It might be someone that is invested in your value. It might be someone that's really care about what is happening. But having a spiritual connection, when you're angry with someone and we're upset, and now I have to come and pray for Sharlene, it's hard for me to be angry with Sharlene and now to have to genuinely pray for her, not just pray that she understands that she's wrong and she needs to come and apologize, but recognizing that I want the best for her. Getting to that point, by the time you're finished with the prayer, your discernment takes over, where you start seeing areas where you may even be at fault. And even when you're not at fault, it comes to the point where you recognize that that still don't matter. You may seek even forgiveness when you are right. But praying for each other is important, and praying for the person too is something that is really critical. I remember buying a book in terms of, I think it's the power of a praying husband, the power of a praying wife. I bought each of those. And you'll notice we reference this as we go on even in our talks. Invest in your relationship. And for some people, you may not feel comfortable going and speak to a counselor or these kind of things and so forth. And even though there's value in that, and I think it's always good to have great counsel, but you could find counsel in a safe space. And there's a lot of valuable authors that have written books of value that you could really read. But I'll tell you this much: if you read it by yourself, it's valuable. But if you could get to the point that you could read it together, it's amazing the way it opens up areas and gives you talking points of things that it might be difficult for you to raise it by itself. But if the author is saying, hey, when you get so angry and that, and you could speak from the author's perspective, it's like, hey, Sharlene, like, what do you think about what the author said? You're thinking it, but the author gives you an out to kind of ask the question, to say, hey, what do you think about what he says that, men like to have sex, 3 times, 4 times, what do you think? So invest in books and so forth. But again, back to the main point, pray together and for each other.
Having goals together helps to plan for your future. As we notice and as we keep mentioning, marriage is a unity. and being with each other, we can't have separate goals and separate plans. So when we decide to get
Is
together,
that fair to say? Is that fair to say we can have separate goals, separate plans? I mean, I know that's your point, but I just had to jump in there. I mean, is that
well,
fair?
the plans that you can have separate for me could be that you want to go play basketball on the court early in the morning when I'm sleeping because I don't like to go early. But you can't plan a vacation trip. Wait to some island and say, well, I went on this trip, but I don't know about you. I mean, that kind of thing.
I got it.
Alright, so in terms of those goals and those plans, buy a car, build a house, build an apartment, plan for retirement, those are goals and plans that we should have together. Because I can't say, well, we need a car, you say we need a car, or I say we need a house, and you say we don't need a house. It's like, okay, where exactly are we going with that?
Yeah.
So we need to have this unified fund in everything that we do because it really helps to propel the relationship forward and it really guides everything in terms of it. When you see when you have these discussions to decide when, how you're going to do these things, trust me, it even moves faster because it helps you how to plan, how to save finances, and it keeps a sense of calm because we both know where we're going. And it helps to take away distractions from other elements or whatever, whoever, because we know where we're going and we know what we're deciding to do. Because other person might decide, why did you do that? That's not for you to decide, that's for us to decide. Because we're team stewards, so that's what we're going forward with.
But I mean, and guys, you could ask a question. I mean, we definitely will get back to you to comment if you can't ask it now. But I'll ask a question. Can one of the goals be from one person and the other person join in on that goal?
Well, I love traveling. I have always been a traveler, and I took him with somebody who loves traveling. There's a great goal.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
that because one person may have a particular goal, and as you discuss it together, you realize that this is something that I really want to support. You know, I might have a desire to start a particular business, and or you have a particular hobby and you want to do so. And as you discuss it together, your partner might say, "Hey, this is a really I want to support you on that, sweetheart. Let's see how we're going. Let's see how we're going to do that." Yeah, you know, so there are times that it don't mean that you both would have had this particular goal. One might have had it, but let it not be polar opposite. Let it not be that you have a goal and someone has just a contrary goal and you're going in a different direction. I mean, that's a disaster. Traveling has a way of teaching new things. And as Sharlene said, Sharlene's always been excited about traveling. And I've had that. I probably didn't been able to experience it as much. I would say Sharlene's been more of the avid traveler. And
that's how we met.
Yeah, you know, and from traveling, and especially starting to travel together, being in a new location, experiencing a new culture, it brings out parts of you that you didn't even know, things that you end up having new memories together, new things to bring you together when things are really rough. You know, there's times that you get so busy and bumping in life that when you could reflect on, hey, remember when we were in Puerto Rico? And
I love that Puerto Rico, trust me. I keep talking about it. I would love to go back to Puerto Rico. I mean, that was a spontaneous trip. Yeah, we planned it like in 2-3 days. And trust me, I would love to return to Puerto Rico. I think
so
it
brings you together in different ways. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times you don't have to travel very far. It doesn't have to be very expensive. And that's a wonderful thing about traveling. You could really use the opportunity to just travel to some place that you haven't been before. It could be within your same country. It could be in somewhere nearby. As long as you're together and you could really make it, you know, an experience for each other, it really have a way of bringing you together. Really have a way of teaching you new things. So traveling definitely has a way of teaching you new things. And the last one is one that we have combined because it was on both of our lists. Several things we have on each other's list, but this one was interesting. So I'll let Sharlene go and I will give my piece on that.
There should only be 3 persons in your marriage: God, your spouse, and you. In addition, guard the boundaries of your marriage. Now, the first part, as you notice, Many times we have too many forces, too many persons getting involved in that relationship. And we need to understand only three persons. You see that triangle? Well, don't worry about the pyramid. But the triangle basically is how God expects us to operate. God at the tip, spouse is on the center, and that triangle connects the dot. Relationship with God, relationship with your spouse. And you see, once you have that bonding, you don't turn it a square, you turn it a rectangle, you keep it a triangle. Trust me, your relationship is going to get stronger. And the second part that talks about the boundaries, we have influences from all factors, families, friends, people who just want to destroy your marriage because things look too good. See, when it is you let persons know that this boundary only includes three of us, and you indicate that and you explain that to them and they realize, okay, I really can't get in this, you see how it is things will work out better for you. Too many times we allow outside forces to influence our relationship and create division. No one knows your spouse better than you. No one understands your relationship better than you. So stop taking all this unnecessary advice from people who don't have your best interests at heart. Because many times they just want to see you fail. So you don't need all that. I mean, we're not saying you may not have one or two good influencers, your positive persons who will share something. But many times you go to too many persons for information when all you do is trust God who put you together. Because when you were going with this person, you're not Tom, they can harry about it. No. But all of a sudden when they marry, you want to ask Tom, they can harry. No, go to the same person who put you together, which is God, and let that person guide the process.
All right, so for me, I'm going to be a bit practical, right? There's two parts of this I think that is very much so played a part in our marriage. One is family and friends. As Charlie said, we all need good counsel. So it's important to be able to get advice, get counsel. You have issues, you have challenges. Your family, your friends. They're going to give you advice, tell you what to think, and so forth. At the end of the day, you got to take all of it with a grain of salt. Because you're the one that have to lie down with your spouse. You're the one that has to go through and figure out life as it's necessary. So take all that with a grain of salt and then figure out with God and your spouse, how are we going to get through this? And that's why I like the fact that Sharlene mentioned earlier to be vulnerable with each other. There's a lot of times we don't talk about how we feel, and especially for men. For me, that was difficult. We always thought to be macho. We always thought to keep our thoughts inside, to always seem to have a sense of control. That's a challenge. You got to be able to speak, understand that, yeah, this is what somebody's saying, that's what it is, but how are we going to get through this? That's one. The other one is with the guys, the girls, the other sex. If you are having a conversation on your phone and you have any doubts that somebody might interpret that conversation wrong, you might have to be mindful of the boundaries. There's this, when we come out with this popular song, telephone thing, mash up life. Mash up life because you're probably not being very clear with your boundaries. I think in the beginning, there were times that you always want to have this challenge. Should you know your spouse's password for their phone, or should you have a password in your phone, and so forth? Again, I believe that just is centered around boundaries and understanding, well, what are the boundaries? What are the friends? Who are the people that are invested in my marriage and my relationship? After a while, I think once you've made that clear, it really shouldn't matter if you have a password on your phone or not, because you know what? Your spouse should probably know your password. And you shouldn't have to be worried about if your phone rings accidentally or something like that, because you're very clear about your boundaries and where that lie. But that takes to me a sense of growth and understanding that, hey, we are in this together. This is what we really want to do. But beyond that, I think it has to be very clear. I think that's usually for me an indication that this relationship that I have here is a challenge. If I ever have to think that I might have to delete this message because Sean might interpret it wrong, that means I have to watch this relationship, because there's something here that is bordering on not necessarily just friends. And I think that's just it in a nutshell for us. Charlene, any final thoughts? It's been 11 years. It's 11 things, and we really hope that we've shared something that might have been of value to someone, even if you're beginning, you're in the middle, And for some people it's at the end and have way more experience than us. And but this is just us just being reflective of all the things that we have gone through. I was, just being able to be clear this fact that this is not easy. This is not us trying to be all up there saying that we're perfect. We're far from it, but we just want to share what we have really learned as we've gone through this process.
What I would like to say is that our marriage has been a journey, an exciting one to boot. And I'm thankful for how far we've come. And when we decided to even do this particular episode, we reflected on the 11 years that we've been with each other and the growth that we have gone through and the growth that we still have to go through. And when we decided to make this particular list, I really thought deep about the things that I learned during this relationship and during the journey that I have passed through. And it has really changed me a lot even as a person in terms of even the way how I deal with Joshua and how I deal with others, because it makes me think a lot more in terms of how I would respond to persons and deal with them, because you have to think a lot of how you would respond to your spouse in certain situations. And many times persons might see these videos and think, what is it they want to tell us, what they're trying to play? But that's not it. We really felt impressed to share what it is we have experienced, because many times as married couples, we don't share with each other. We keep it to ourselves, either the good things and the bad things, because we don't think we should let people know. And then we go on Facebook and create a show. So persons will think that we have a 24/7 happy marriage. But that's not the case, that's unrealistic, because we're in a sinful world, so you can never have a 24/7 happy relationship. But what we wanted to share is that what God has done for us and how He has blessed us over these 11 years. And we thought it best. I really believe God inspired me with this idea and inspired Joshua to join me to share with others our journey and to share with others that if it's something that you can learn from this, I really pray that you do, and that you realize that no matter how difficult you think your marriage is, that there is still hope for you, that God can restore any relationship. Trust me, it doesn't matter how bad things are, that once you put it to God, He can restore any relationship. And that is all we want to encourage you with by these videos and even by this particular session. So you can sit down with your spouse and write down the different things that marriage has taught you over the years, or the things that you want to learn from your marriage, and ask God to guide you along this process, and trust me, it will get better every day. So I just want to encourage you to keep holding fast, keep praying, and keep trusting God. Things will get better.
All right, so thank you again for joining us. If you haven't liked our pages yet, if you haven't subscribed and click the notification bell, please remember to do that on YouTube. You could also like our page on Facebook, or you could also visit our website, vividresolutions.com. Thank you, and you'll see us in the next video.
Okay, bye.